Welcome to the Garfield Heights City Schools Special Board Meeting Work Session. Today is Monday, February 12th, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Oko, can we have roll call?
Yes. Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Morrison?
Here.
Ms. King?
Can the minutes reflect that Ms. King has an excused absence from the meeting today?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for the adoption of today's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Oko, can we get roll call?
Yes. Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Cox?
Yeah.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes. Now we would like to move into our presentations. I will turn this over to Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Tonight, we have the honor of hearing a report coming from our athletic department from our new athletic director, Mr. Cruz.
Well, thank you guys for having me today. I'm excited to talk about the department and some of the things that have been happening this year, and of course brag about some of the accomplishments of our student athletes. So today we're going to talk about the budget, where the money's going, how we're allocating it accordingly to best serve the needs of our student athletes as well as our coaches and programs. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the added sports and activities that we've been able to add this year, as well as what we're hoping to do next year and moving forward. Also talk about some athletic study tables. This is a new initiative that was not in place before I got here. Obviously designed to support our student athletes in the classroom, and something I'm very excited about. Some of the great new coaches that we have in the district, and some of the different things that athletics is doing in order to reach out to our younger buildings, on our community and our youth in general. And then, like I mentioned, I want to brag a little bit about some of the accomplishments that we've had happen this year. I'll take questions at the end, but also if, as I'm going through it, you guys have any questions, please feel free to just jump in. So this is the budget breakdown right here. Uniforms and upkeep is what we have currently spent the most amount of money on. That is the blue piece of the pie. That is roughly 34% of what we spent year to date. Coming in second place is event management, which is the orange piece at 31%. Equipment is at 22%. Our league dues, our state dues, as well as the fees associated with some of the competitions we've been in is 7%. Our awards and senior banners makes up 5%, and that last percent is office supplies and any extra that doesn't fit into one of those categories. Uniforms and upkeep. This number, obviously with it being the highest number, looks like we're spending a lot of money on new uniforms. The truth of the matter is of that 34%, 41% of it is just for the refurbishment of our football helmets, pads, uniforms. So again, I wish I could sit here and say we've been spending that much money and we're buying our kids all this new great uniforms, but the truth of the matter is that a large chunk of that is just upkeeping the football uniforms, the helmets, and things of that nature. Unfortunately, with football, of course, it being such a physical sport, there's a lot that goes into that, and there's also safety concerns when it comes to helmets. This year alone, we had to pay for 24 new helmets to make sure that we had enough helmets that would be safe for our kids to wear, because they age out after a certain period of time, no matter how good or bad of a job you do with the upkeep of it. Event management makes up 31%. That's officials, that's auxiliary police, that's our in-house security, that's our scorekeepers, our ticket takers, all of the things that we need in order to make an event a successful experience for our fans and for our student athletes, and also a safe one. Costs continue to go up. Obviously, this being my first year in this position, I was not the one making the decisions in the past, but when I went back and looked at how much they were spending on these individuals, the numbers have gone up. Some as high as 30%. So obviously with raising inflation, the cost for workers is going up, and honestly the amount of people that we have willing to work is decreasing. So it's not as if we have a bunch of people that are willing to sign up and want to work. So we have to obviously be competitive financially in order to make sure we have the things we need to make the events go as they need to go. 22% is equipment. And of that 22%, again, when I'm talking about equipment, I'm talking about basketballs, baseballs, softballs, footballs. You're talking about, things for cheerleading, their pom-poms. But the biggest cost we have for equipment, it makes up almost 40% of that piece of the pie, is our huddle camera. Our huddle camera is what we use in the main gym, and next year we will be using, hopefully, in our new football stadium. And that is used to record the games so that the coaches have the ability to go back and watch the games. It's also able to connect that recording to the opponent, so it's an immediate exchange of the game. A lot of the schools have it. I think only Shaw is the only school in our league that does not have huddle, so it's become very common practice. We also use it for our live stream, which I'm going to talk about later. But again, it's not just for basketball, it's not just for football, it's for any sport. Something that we want to do in the future is live stream our pep rallies and anything else that we're doing as well. So of course the community members that can't be there will still be able to be a part of that stuff. So it's a very useful and important part of a lot of different facets of the athletic department and various programs. But again, that's the biggest piece of that pie as well. Dues and event fees. Our league due this year was $4,400. Our OSHA fee was $650. And then when I talk about event fees, when our wrestling team participates in a tournament, there's a fee associated with that. When our track and field team competes, there's a fee associated with that. There are certain sports where we don't have event fees, but a lot of our sports do, and that's what makes up that 7%. Of course, we have senior banners for all of our senior student athletes. They love them. I actually had one student athlete this year say the number one reason she played was so she could get her senior banners. So she was very much waiting for that. But the kids love them. It's a great opportunity to showcase them around the school, and something that I think is very important. And then our end of season awards makes up the rest of that. And then again, like I said, the 1% is office supplies, and if we're able to feed a team every now and then. Sorry, I forgot I had the clicker. So some added sports for this year. We added golf, a men's volleyball, and we've had step team, but this is the first year that step team will be recognized as a varsity sport. So I was very happy to work with Coach Boyd and Coach Mayo on giving them their just dues when it came to step team. They put in the work as well. They practice every day. I felt like it was only fair that they got the same acknowledgement as our other sports. Golf again, men's volleyball. Golf already took place in the fall. We had about 5 kids showing up every single day they had practice, and we went to the local range, Cleveland Metro Parks, partnered with them. And then men's volleyball is starting this year as well. Because, of course, the budget didn't factor in the addition of these sports and all of the costs associated with it, this year's their preliminary year where they just, for the most part, they just practice or trying to gain interest so that next year they can compete in the state tournament and have a full schedule as we're able to budget that in. And next year, we're hoping to add tennis and cross country. On the club side of things, we took what was ski club, and it was something that wasn't being used. I went and I looked back, it had at least been 4 or 5 years since ski club was actually used, and we converted into what's called winter club. It's an opportunity for our student athletes, or our students in general, to be able to just go do various outdoor activities. The reason we made this switch was skiing is expensive. The equipment is expensive, the reservation is expensive, and as a club, we just felt like that was something that a lot of our students wouldn't be able to afford and be able to take advantage of. So a lot of the events with Winter Club are actually free or very, very low cost. And right now we've had anywhere between, every Friday it's a different activity, anywhere between, on the low end, 7 and the high end, 16 students participating. So again, it fluctuates based off of the event and the time. And we're looking to add, I know Dr. Reynolds is excited about this, of course he's a video game guy, but esports and women's flag football are 2 things that we're looking to get done by next year. I've been going around to the various high schools that already have esports and kind of picking their brain on what we would need to do. There is a lot of upfront costs with that, of course, for the councils and different things. So we're working through that right now. And I had a bunch of young ladies come to me at the beginning of the year and they said, hey, we'd really like to see women's flag football. It was something we're interested in. So reached out to some other students, and I saw that there was actually potentially some interest there. So something that we're looking to do next year as well. Again, just trying to create more opportunities for our kids to be involved in athletics or an activity, because I feel very strongly about this. Athletics is very, very important, I think, in the development of our young men and women. And so the more we can have a part of it, we can give them something positive to do, I think that's only going to be beneficial for them in the long run. And then just some school spirit initiatives. I was told that in the past we only had a pep rally for the fall. This year we had one, of course, for the fall, but we also had a winter one, which went very well. There was a staff versus students basketball game at the end. The staff ended up coming out on top, so we got some bragging rights there. But the kids really seemed to enjoy it, and we're going to do that again for our spring athletes as well. I think there's no reason why we can't dedicate 45 minutes at least once during every season to acknowledge those student athletes that are taking the time out of their day after school to participate in these sports and represent our community. So again, that was just something I wanted to do to try to create more school spirit and be more inclusive. And we just started doing this. We're trying to give the first 50 students free admission to our sporting events as long as they're wearing something Bulldog. So, and Ms. Daniels, even if it is a black shirt, that will count. So, athletic study tables. When I first got this job, this was probably one of the biggest surprises when I found out we had nothing in place to support our student athletes. Athletics, again, I talked about this. I think it is such a positive impact on our kids' life habits and also our academics. I'm one of those kids. One of the reasons that I got my college degree, one of the reasons that I did, I'm not going to say well, but well enough in high school, is because of sports and how much it meant to me. So I felt like this was a really wasted opportunity for our department in terms of not using the impact of sports and helping the academic piece and helping our building. I think when the athletic department is running correctly, I think that we should have a major impact on the school culture, right? It's not just about athletics. And so when I found out we didn't have this was one of my first priorities to make sure that we got something in place. We're still tweaking things. Not going to sit here and say that it's perfect. But we are working through those things to try to make sure we're supporting our kids as much as possible, not just on the athletic side. So every Tuesday and Thursday, any of our student athletes who have a 2.0 or below are required to attend study table when they're in season. We have been able to provide study table. It's a little bit different than what I think most people think of it. What I didn't want was to have study table for the sake of saying we're doing study table. I wanted it to actually be impactful. So rather than have one room where everybody goes and somebody monitors them and makes sure they're doing something for 30 minutes so we can check a box off, I wanted to make sure they were able to get us in a smaller setting where the teachers could actually work with them and truly make sure that they're taking advantage of that time versus wasting 30 minutes to say that we're doing something when we're really not. So we have an English room, a math room, a science room, a history room, and a Spanish room currently. We started this right before winter season, so we did not get a chance to implement this for fall, and we've already seen a 29% improvement. So what I mean by that is that all of our student athletes that were on the original, they met the criteria, which we don't want them to meet this criteria, of being eligible for study table. 29% of those students were not on study table or did not meet that criteria when we switched quarters. So again, obviously still work to do, but clearly what we're doing is something that's moving us in the right direction to making sure that athletics is having the positive impact we want to have in all facets of our student athletes' lives. Some new head coaches that we have in the district here. We just recently hired Sorrell. Sorrell is a Garfield Heights graduate. He's going to be our new head boys and girls soccer coach. Right now we have a co-ed team. Hopefully one day he'll get it to a point where we have a boys team and a girls team, but really excited about him. Our new golf head coach is Cody Rabel. He's also a history teacher at the high school. And then our new head football coach, Coach Andrews. Coach Andrews comes with a lot of great experience. His number one reference was Ted Ginn Sr., who obviously has done a tremendous amount of positive in his community. He couldn't have spoke more highly of him. Coach Andrews has been in a lot of different places, including Glenville, including Warren Harding during one of their more successful runs. He was the coach of the year in the Senate League at Rhodes, and he was most recently at Euclid. Coach Andrews is also our track and field coach, and he actually was responsible, according to Ted Ginn Sr., for his son having the type of success he was able to have in track and field. Right? Most people know of Ted Ginn as the football player who played at Ohio State, but he was also a very successful track and field athlete.
Yeah, he also played for the Carolina Panthers.
And he also played for the Carolina Panthers. And in case, I got to give my man credit for this. No matter what, he's wearing his lanyard, win, lose, or draw. So yes, also a Carolina Panther. I focus more on the Ohio State side, but that's just me. Either way, so again, somebody who has a tremendous amount of experience in both the football and the track and field. And I also think it's really important because you see a lot of football players also need to be involved in track and field. And so to have that synergy, I thought was really important. He, of course, has the credentials for both, so we're really excited to have him. Ethan Buford has done a phenomenal job. He's also a Garfield Heights graduate. I don't have the exact numbers. I've heard different answers, and of course I wasn't here last year to give you the exact number, but it sounds like at minimum, the amount of kids we have still competing in wrestling right now compared to this point last year has more than doubled. Wow. He's doing a phenomenal job. He's already talking about he and his staff doing things in the off season, trying to make it a year-round program, and again, just giving our kids the right types of activities that they need to better themselves in all areas of their life. And then men's volleyball, like golf, this is provisionary. Coach Gates, who is also our volleyball coach on the women's side, Coach Gates has been coaching in the district for, I think it's like 15 or 16 years now. He's been here a very, very long time. He is one of the most dedicated and hardworking coaches that I've ever been around. His girls and his parents have nothing but the utmost respect for him. I have the utmost respect for him. I don't know much about volleyball, but his team and those girls this year were really easy to root for. By the end of the year, I learned about something called side out, and I know that a libero is essentially the version of a passer. So still at a very low level of intelligence when it comes to volleyball, but Coach Gates and his girls have been really educating me on that. So we're excited to have him bring that initiative over to the boys' side as well. So, this was another important thing for me. We have to make sure that the kids at the younger levels are excited about becoming Bulldogs at the high school level. When I grew up, it was, I can't wait until that's me on Tuesday and Friday nights playing basketball. And I remember going to games and you look up to these kids that are like superheroes to you and you watching them play in whatever sport they're playing in. So it was really important for me that we made sure and we made an effort to make sure that all of our teams visited those younger kids at least once a year. So again, to my knowledge, this was something that maybe hasn't been done in the past, but we had our fall team, every sport was represented, and we went and we read to the kids and we hung out with the kids and we learned with the kids, and it was a great time. And honestly, it was funny because I think the little kids enjoyed it, but in some ways I actually think the big kids enjoyed it more. So it was really cool. It was awesome for me, being at the high school and focused on those things to just see how those buildings are running. And I was really, really impressed, I must say. I mean, those kids were very well behaved. The teachers were in there getting it done. The kids were having fun. And it was cool to kind of be a part of that. And for them to, again, get that piece as well. So again, that's something we did in the fall and the winter and something we will continue to do in the spring. We have a basketball and cheerleading clinic happening on February 28th, where 3 or 4 of our boys basketball players and cheerleaders are going to go to the younger schools, and it's going to be used as a reward for the students that are doing what they need to do. So they'll get a chance to participate in that, and our kids are excited about that, and our coaches as well. Coach Andrews has already initiated Saturday morning free track and field clinics for any person in our district. So again, obviously he's got the high school kids there, but I even saw, I think at the last one, there was a kid that must have been 7 or 8 years old, and he was hanging out and teaching them some things. So again, just trying to get that outreach now so that we get these kids excited about being Bulldogs and understanding that we can provide everything that they need here. I mentioned the live stream earlier in relation to Huddle. We have been for free live streaming all events since the winter season in our gym. We have the Stop the Violence event that's coming up. Shout out to Miss Thomas there. Had to give it a plug. That'll be on there. All of our boys and girls basketball games have been on there. Our wrestling meet, Valentine's Day, if anybody's looking for a romantic date of wrestling, you can either come to the gym and watch it in person or snuggle on the couch at home and watch it on the live stream. And we will have that in the new football field as well. So for not just just football games, track and field, soccer, anything else, women's flag football, anything else that we would have there. We already had a Twitter, but we've created an Instagram. Bless you. We've created an Instagram again. We know that our kids live on social media, so it's important that we have a presence there. And our website, we had a website, but I wouldn't have called it a very up-to-date or helpful website. Now everything is on there. There's still some things I would like to do in terms of getting even more pictures of our kids on there and some videos and things like that. We do have pictures. We do make sure we write a story for every single event, good or bad. The schedule is correct. The results are correct. Now working on the final piece of it. But again, just wanting to make sure if our community wants to find out what's happening, that they have places that they can find out. Right? Because not only do we have community members that are here, but we also have community members that have moved on elsewhere but still want to keep tabs on what's going on. So just making sure we're providing those in a variety of things. And then the last piece is we'll start this next year. I was hoping to start it this year. But one of the requirements for any of our student athletes, and this will go through the coaches because I want it to be a team initiative, not an individual, is all of our teams will be required to do something in terms of community service. You know, it could be raking leaves, it can be going and reading at the library, whatever it is, but just one thing. Take 2 hours and go out there and try to, really show off these kids, because there's a narrative about our kids that doesn't match the reality of it. And I always say that if people just meet our kids and really see them in action, you're going to have an entirely different viewpoint of it. So that's really, really important. Again, that's something, unfortunately, I have not been able to get fully locked in this year, but we will have that in place by next year. And then some team accomplishments. Obviously, we all know our boys basketball team's really good. I don't think I'm breaking any news there. What a lot of people don't know is that they're unbelievable kids. This has been one of the most enjoyable groups that I've ever been around in terms of just the level of respect that they have for one another and the way they carry themselves. Of our 13 varsity basketball players this last grading period, 10 of them had a 3.0 or higher. So again, when we talk about not just the athlete piece of it, they're living proof of that. Our girls basketball team has had a heck of a season. That 12 wins, I'm hoping, is going to be 13, 14, and 15 here pretty soon. They still have one regular season game left at Cleveland Central Catholic on Thursday. And they also have a tournament game at Maple. So we already have 12 wins. We've already finished third place in the LEL. 2 years ago, our women's basketball program had 0 wins. So for that type of turnaround, Coach Ritter, his staff, those girls, those parents, everybody involved in that, that's a tremendous turnaround. And the best part of that is that that team, 90% of the players are returners. We only have 3 seniors out of our 12 varsity players. And even though we were unable to finish the JV season, we had a JV season for the vast majority of the year, which again means numbers are going up. During a time where you're seeing in a lot of places and a lot of different sports numbers going down, girls basketball, you're seeing more interest. So I'm really excited about that. Bowling finished third in the LEL this year. Our middle school football team won yet another championship. We bought them, part of the extra was I bought them championship LEL t-shirts. I was told that not only have they never gotten t-shirts, which is crazy to me, any team that wins an LEL championship, we should be giving them something. But they don't even have a banner, so we're working on that as well. We need to recognize and celebrate these accomplishments and make sure that they understand that they're valued, whether it's at the middle school, the elementary, or the high school. So really proud of those guys and the work they did this year. They went 6-1 overall and won the LEL. And then volleyball actually had a second team All-EL performer. I'm going to give a shout out to Melina Pickett. She was the libero I was telling you about, the passer or the digger, one of the two, maybe both. But anyways, she was a second team All-LELer. The team went 12-10 this year. They also finished 500 in the LEL too. So, and that's another team that has the majority of their varsity contributors were juniors. So that's a team that's looking like they're going to only be improving. Numbers were slightly down this year from the previous year. However, Coach Gates is expecting that to spike up, and he's hoping to have the most participants he's had in the last several years this next year. So again, program moving in the right direction. That's all I got. Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Cruz, I
Yes.
would like to thank you for that outstanding presentation.
That's good.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Cruz?
No questions. I think it was a very transparent presentation, so I definitely appreciate that. Back when I was in high school, I played tennis, so excited to see that come back. My brother did too, so that's exciting. And then back in my day, we also had powder puff.
Yes.
With a girl.
So that was something we
Competition.
did try to get for this
Yeah,
homecoming.
that's hard.
Yeah.
hard.
It would need a little bit more time, but no, I agree.
So the flag football, I think that's going to be good and something that can be kept up throughout the time, rather than one
Yeah.
single game.
I agree. Yeah.
Things.
Madam Vice President?
Yes.
Thank you for the amazing presentation that you gave today. I just had just a few comments.
Hmm.
So one thing I have been saying for a long time, really wanted to see the impact of what's going on in the high school kind of trickle down to our elementary school students, to get them excited about being that portrait of a graduate that we foresee. And I can tell you that my little ones in the elementary school, they came home talking about the sports figures that came to see them from the high school, and you would have thought it was like LeBron or somebody. Like it was that meaningful for them. Like they came home like the kids from the high school that play sports, and it got them excited just about, first they were able to just see their people in their community, in their school district, tangible people being their role models, which sometimes they don't get that opportunity to see that, and just getting excited about being like them one day. So thank you for bringing that, because my little ones came, and I think maybe it was some softball players, and she was asking about playing softball because she got a chance to meet some softball players or something like that. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing the study tables too, just prioritizing education for our student athletes, because I do believe that what people don't get with student athletes, they can be your most disciplined, they learn discipline. It's a lot of things that come along with being an athlete that impacts the classroom too. Who's doing the study tables? Like, are there volunteer teachers?
Yes,
Or are there
so we have,
else?
so teachers volunteered. It's still during the contractually obligated time, so it's 2:25 to 2:55, it's 30 minutes. And like I said, we have some teachers that do both, meaning if you're our science teacher, for example, that does it, he does it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then we have a math teacher. We have Maz who does it on Tuesdays, and then we have Miss Majowski who does it on Thursdays. So it just kind of depends, but they're all teachers, and they've all done that on their own because they care about helping the kids. And actually, as we grow this, we'll probably need to add another teacher, because I don't want the rooms to get too crowded with people, so they're getting that individual attention that they need. But that's been, obviously, that study table, all of the credit goes to the teachers for that, because I certainly cannot help kids with math and science. If you want to see numbers go down, send them to me for math and science. So obviously they're the ones that are doing the work, and definitely very appreciative of that.
Is that something that we maybe could see happen even in our middle school eventually?
That is our eventual plan, yes. So again, wanted to see how it works at the high school. I would love to see that at the middle school as well, because we need to prepare our kids so that they're already accustomed to those expectations when they become freshmen, versus then having to try to teach them, so that we can maximize their time when they're in the high school building. So my hope is that will happen next year. Certainly within the next 2 years, I think that's something that we have to get done, just to make sure we're doing right by our kids.
I just have one last question. Are you seeing any barriers that just even the board or the community or parents can support our students with participation numbers? Or what are you guys doing? I hear you have some things to start and move up, but I know that there always some barriers to our students participating in sports, and is there some support that the athletic department can have from community, parents, the Board of Education, to really help you with ensuring that all students that have an interest have access?
Yeah, so we'll always take as much support as we can get, right? Because support for the athletic department is really support for the kids that make up the athletic department and the coaches who serve and take the time to obviously be role models for our kids. I do think that there are some different youth initiatives that I'm still kind of working through and trying to figure out how we can, in a perfect world, if you were to ask me, I would love to have like a youth organization that was directly associated with our school district, which you do see in other communities, so that we could, again, introducing kids not only to the sports early, but also the positive impacts that sport and athletics in general can have in terms of them developing the life habits that they're going to need to be successful beyond athletics. I think the earlier you can get them involved, the better. I think the earlier you can get them involved, I think that the parents and the guardians see the benefits of them being a part of it. That's something that there's still a lot of moving pieces to figure out how we can make that work and a version of it. But I will say overall that the high school administrators, Dr. Reynolds, Mr. Oko, we've been very supported to this point. So I don't feel like we have been on our own trying to do stuff. We've gotten a lot of help and a lot of people that I think want to see our school district succeed and understand the role that athletics can play in helping it happen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any more questions?
Madam Vice President.
Yes.
I'm happy to see the study tables. My son graduated from Garfield and he plays sports, and it's nice to see it structured.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great addition to the study tables. I think he got help, but it was nice. It's nice to see how you've structured it. And the only other thing is I'm glad to see golf. I'm glad to see you've added golf. My daughter graduated last year, and I kept hounding her like, you should consider golf.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to go home and tell her that you all have added
She
golf.
just graduated a little bit too early. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, golf is definitely a sport that I thought was important to introduce to our kids. And I was speaking with some of the other LEL athletic directors, and I think we're going to get a lot more participation in golf here moving forward, even if it's just at the introductory level, right? It's very important.
Just to understand the game is what I wanted her to
Mm-hmm.
start considering. So I'm glad to see you've added it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, again, Mr. Cruz, thank you very much for the presentation and taking the time to come and speak with us today. We are now going to move to 3.1 on the agenda, which is the tentative agenda review. Is there any discussion?
Madam Vice President,
Yes, Mrs. Daniels.
I have a question for Mr. Oko. There
Yes.
were resolutions, I seen some resolutions
There are quite a few on this agenda.
regarding the Board of Revisions.
Yes.
Maybe, can you explain to me exactly what that is? We may have voted on that type of thing before, but I just didn't recall the
Yeah.
details, so
So,
you can explain.
so the law changed, and basically the structure of how we, as a district, file complaints with the Board of Revision on length of arms sales for the district. It used to be that you didn't have to pass a resolution, it was a lower threshold. The legislature pushed through a bill, and now it's a certain threshold, and the Board of Education has to pass a resolution and give notification to the property owners. We have been filing these for years as a district. Now it's changed to where we have to follow additional steps. In the eyes of the legislature, they want it to be more transparent. We do not file these against residential taxpayers. We only file against our Class 2 and they have to be over a large percentage, like a deviation of the actual length of arm sale of the valuation that the Board of Revision puts through. So you're gonna see 3 of them on. There are 3 Class 3 properties, and our attorneys, Kalale and Peters, worked through those resolutions for us. They sent out the legal notification. They have a right to come and sit at our board meetings and have public comments, but again, this is a practice that our district, and quite honestly, every district in the state follows when it comes to commercial Class 2 business Board of Revision challenges. So, and those are under the miscellaneous section, I believe.
Okay, I knew it was somewhere. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's a good question. This is the first time you guys have seen it. It's the first time that our board has passed something like this, because it just came into effect quite recently.
Okay, I thought I don't recall seeing this.
Are there any more questions on the tentative agenda? All right, then we are going to move on to section 4.1, which is we're going to enter into an executive session. So can the minutes reflect that we are going to enter into executive session at 6:46 p.m.
Point of order, we have to take, we
Oh,
have to
sorry.
vote on, entering into executive
Okay.
session. And then when you take
Enter,
us in,
okay.
make sure you state the reason.
So, Ms. Morrison, so we will go. Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. So we will go into
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Do I give the time or to wait for that until we, okay, okay. All right. So we are going to do 4.1, which can I get a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel legal issues.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Oko, can I get roll call?
Yes. Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Cox? Ms. Morrison?
Yes. So now we are going to enter into executive session at 6:48, and no action will be taken after we adjourn from executive session. Thank you.